Thank you so much again. And again, it's a pleasure to come back to the main stage here in Toronto. We are now going to hear from um, Tarik Khan, who is the Director General for Africa at Global Affairs. Essentially, he is effectively the senior most government representative in terms of the bureaucracy, in terms of the policy side of the Canadian government looking at Africa. Tarik has served as head of West and Central Africa prior to his appointment, and he's no stranger to this chamber, having addressed us last year prior to his illustrious ascent to the current leadership role in the government of Canada. We are proud to recognize Global Affairs and a long-standing supporter of programs and a long-standing supporter of this chamber, Tarik Khan. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that kind introduction, Sébastien. Bonjour tout le monde. On behalf of the Government of Canada and in my capacity as Director General for Pan-African Affairs at Global Affairs Canada, I want to thank the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business for bringing us all together for this fantastic event and for inviting me to speak to all of you once again. So before we begin, I would like to acknowledge that I am participating virtually from Ottawa on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. I believe that those of us who have settled on this generous land have a responsibility to ensure true reconciliation with its Indigenous peoples. So let's remember that in all of our efforts to build an inclusive Canada. Today, on day 3 of Africa Accelerating, we're here to discuss how we can work together to enable the dynamic economies of Africa to recover from COVID and become new engines for global growth. Alors que la croissance économique qui a précédé le nouveau millénaire a été forte et persistante dans toute l'Afrique, il est bien connu que l'activité économique moyenne a fortement chuté depuis, en raison de la baisse des prix des produits de base et d'un déclin de l'engagement mondial, and not to mention the fact that we are witnessing such a significant global economic slowdown due to the pandemic and its impact on Africa. Mais il est essentiel que la croissance de l'Afrique retrouve son élan d'avant le millénaire, et l'une des façons dont cela peut se produire est à travers un plus grand partenariat entre le continent et le Canada. Supporting Africa's growth and prosperity is a priority for us at Global Affairs Canada. We are committed to building and strengthening our partnership. A concrete example is the announcement made by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau last May at the Summit on Financing African Economies that Canada will accelerate its support for the African Development Bank's 7th general capital increase to maintain its ability to provide valuable financial assistance to its clients. And you heard from the Prime Minister directly at the beginning of Accelerating Africa this year regarding this government's commitment to enhancing our economic cooperation across the continent. Canada has rich and meaningful relationships, as you know, with many African countries. These are based on mutual trust and accountability and historic links. Our African partners look to Canada for increased economic partnership and investment across the continent, as you know. More investment is critical to providing employment opportunities for the young and fast-growing populations of African nations, and it will create sustainable and steady growth. Let's look at some numbers on Canada-Africa trade. In the past, the total Canadian trade in merchandise with Sub-Saharan Africa has been modest, reaching $7.7 billion in 2020. In 2020, Canadian direct investment abroad for all Sub-Saharan Africa was $12 billion, while known FDI in Canada from Sub-Saharan Africa was $2.5 billion. We have also actively pursued initiatives aimed at promoting trade and investment on the African continent, including increasing the number of trade commissioners on the continent who are there to work with Canadian companies to serve you, as well as to help implementing foreign investment promotion and protection agreements, FIPAs, with several African nations, notably Benin, Burkina Faso, Cameroon, Côte d'Ivoire, Egypt, Guinea, Mali, Senegal, and Tanzania. Our international cooperation programs, our development programs have also been working to improve the business enabling environment in many countries, including through training, capacity building, support for business-friendly reforms, and more recently, blended finance initiatives in the area of renewable energy. Mais nous pouvons faire mieux pour soutenir la croissance économique en Afrique. Et nous savons que le commerce joue un rôle important à la réalisation des objectifs de développement durable d'ici 2030. With a new government just sworn in, Canada has an opportunity to improve on our approaches and strategy for the Canada-Africa partnership. Canada will continue to look for innovative ways to deepen its relationship with African countries and increase economic cooperation across the region. We'll do this by finding ways to help facilitate increased infrastructure investment, expand partnerships in research and innovation, and help develop new markets and partnerships for Canadian and African businesses. Our goal is to support the rules-based trade and investment environment in Africa and help increase the ability of African countries to ensure that sustainable growth takes place. Canada is committed to helping develop the environment for Canadian businesses operating in Africa, whether it's through continuing policy discussions or advancing pacts such as foreign investment promotion and protection agreements, air transport agreements, and double taxation agreements. Global Affairs Canada, largely through our Trade Commissioner Service, also continues to look for new opportunities in its priority sectors in Africa, including natural resources, agribusiness, education, and infrastructure. Alors que le Canada souhaite accroître son engagement en matière de commerce et d'investissement en Afrique, nous estimons que les institutions africaines jouent un rôle de premier plan pour stimuler et faciliter la croissance économique durable en Afrique. Canada sees the African Continental Free Trade Area, the ACFTA, and intra-African trade as a key future driver of African economies. We recognize this. A unified continental market has the potential to improve economic prosperity, stability, and security in the region. It will attract greater investment from and greater engagement with the rest of the world, including Canada. Canada sees the implementation of the agreement to create the ACFTA as a critical step to help the development of value-added sectors and for our own participation ultimately in regional value chains, infrastructure, services such as logistics, education and health, and goods like agricultural products, agro-processing, and clean tech. And this is just to name a few. We know there is much more, and we know there is much more potential that Canadian businesses have to offer. As has been stated numerous times in this conference, supporting the ACFTA is about building for the future. This is why, since 2003, Canada has supported the African Trade Policy Centre at the UN Economic Commission for Africa. We have recently approved $15.2 million in funding over 5 fiscal years to the ATPC to help it support the implementation of the ACFTA, with a particular focus on inclusive trade, gender integration, and climate considerations. The ATPC provides technical assistance to member states on ACFTA negotiations. Through our funding, the Centre is currently supporting Somalia, Tanzania, and Eswatini to develop and implement ACFTA national strategies. On gender, ATPC works with AU member states to collect annual data on indicators and provide gender-related capacity building and advocacy as more countries develop their national strategies. The goal is to ensure that these strategies are gender inclusive. The ATPC is also conducting a strategic environmental assessment of the ACFTA to examine potential entry points and opportunities for climate considerations to be integrated into the wider AFCFTA processes. Please do check out the African Trade Policy Centre. As we continue the fight against COVID-19 across the world, increased cooperation between Canada and African countries is critical for all of our nations to recover, to become more resilient and stronger than ever. As Prime Minister Trudeau mentioned earlier during the conference, Africa's success and recovery is key to our global future. I look forward to continuing to working with the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business. We want to hear from this chamber and its membership, and we value your contributions. This Accelerating Africa 2021 is yet another fine example of the momentum and the energy you are creating to foster this growing relationship. May our dialogue continue and may this momentum continue. Thank you. Merci.